I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's worldwide on Thought Provoking Thursdays with PL De Silva and our very special guest today, Jay Singh. PL De Silva has over 20 years' experience of backroom diplomacy, mediation, and negotiation. He's taught politics, international relations, and several undergraduate programs at universities in New York, New Jersey, Long Island, and throughout our country. And around the world. I am particularly grateful that PL is here. He comes today with a very, very special guest, Dr. Jay Singh. Dr. Jay Singh is a career Foreign Service officer, retired from the service in July 2025, and formed the Development Impact Global LLC with his wife, a seasoned diplomat at the Department of State. Prior to his last assignment as the USAID country representative to Jamaica, he was the longest serving USAID Azerbaijan mission director in Baku from July 2018 to July 2022. In Baku, in close collaboration with the U.S. ambassador, he significantly enhanced an enduring partnership with Azerbaijan. He pioneered a unique private sector and diplomatic engagement to focus on expanding U.S.-Azerbaijan trade ties, increasing agricultural output and trade, supporting market-based energy legislation while making women's economic empowerment a key focus of the mission's work. Gentlemen, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you, Jesse.
Dr. De Silva, why don't we begin with your insights on the significance of soft diplomacy, the purpose that USAID has played in engaging countries around the world that have tried their very best to sustain human rights, democracy, and other clearly humane interests around the world, that for less than 1% of the federal U.S. budget has maintained, quite frankly, global stability. Dr. De Silva.
Yes. So let me quote something from Netherlands intelligence, Dutch intelligence. So the Dutch intelligence was in charge of AI, and Dr. Groothuis said that U.S. soft power is what is really important. That's the thing that actually makes hard power work. And given that the U.S. has rolled back soft power, especially by taking out USAID, and also the things that are happening which are not within the bounds of international law in the Caribbean, and pertaining to Venezuela in particular, the Dutch have ceased intelligence sharing with the US. The United Kingdom has followed suit. And they're stating that the actions that are being taken by the US administration, by engaging the US Navy in illegal actions by attacking primarily civilian boats. So, soft power is the glue that makes the hard power work. And that's what US allies, the closest allies, are telling us. And there is truth to that. And I think there's no one better to tell us the story of USAID, its demise, and hopefully its resurrection once this administration, completes its term in 3 years' time, hopefully, to see, the United States actually becoming a strong country again. So that's my position. I'd like to hear from Dr. Jay Singh as to how he sees it, because he's an insider. And he's seen all the ins and outs and the benefit that soft power has brought to the United States of America.
Dr. Singh, we have about 2 minutes before we come forward on our break. Coming forward means that we announce our break. And I'd like to allow that question to be answered on this side of the break. Dr. Singh.
Great, thank you. It's a good question. I've been working in this field for almost 30 plus years. Soft power is what we call the ballast to hard power. I mean, you got to have both. You can't have one without the other. And again, I can go into details in a bit more, but yes, soft power is highly critical for us to build allies, alliances, and relationships with our partners throughout the world, and we've done that very effectively over the last 60-some years. The demise of USAID is, there's been a lot of talk prior to this administration of folding state AID into state, but it was much more nuanced, and we wanted to do it gradually, but doing it very suddenly left us without any ability to help shape that. So that's sort of the unfortunate part of it. But we still have good colleagues who are still in the State Department from USAID, helping to do disaster relief and other functions. But you're right. I mean, there is some talk about resurrecting USAID. I'm not part of that at this point. I've left the service, and I've had a great career, and I can talk more about that and talk about the role of soft power in partnership with our 3Ds, the diplomacy, defense, and development.
When we come forward, I'm most definitely looking to hearing that, because Donald Trump, as many of you know, has his present budget has elevated, unlike any other budget in American history, the U.S. military spending to over $1 trillion and climbing. Soft power to balance that hard power is, well, it's wanting. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Worldwide with P.L. De Silva and Dr. Singh. More when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Eric was way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed at what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima's award-winning team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Actual client compensated for sharing their experience. Some restrictions apply. Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com for details.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. so it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thought-provoking Thursdays with Dr. P.L. Silver and our special guest, Dr. Jay Singh, on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Hard power relies on coercion through military force and economic sanctions, while soft power influences others through attraction and persuasion based on culture, political values, foreign policies, including but not limited to providing seed and offering people food. Hard power is a stick and carrot approach that compels action, whereas soft power co-opts others who want the same outcomes, often fostering long-term relationships. A combination of both, known as smart power, is often considered the most effective strategy. USAID utilizes soft power by promoting American values and interests through foreign aid, such as humanitarian and development assistance. Build goodwill and influence countries through attraction rather than coercion. Its work fosters relationships, promotes democracy and human rights, and creates economic partnership and ultimately benefit the U.S. foreign policy goals without relying on military force. Dr. Singh, we find ourselves at this hour in a precarious position where we are eliminating soft power altogether. Your thoughts?
Well, I think let's. I mean, it's a tough place to be right now where we are. We have a lot of federal workers and State Department employees, USAID people. I mean, throughout the federal government, who have been sidelined. The way I look at it, I'm a loyal patriot. I've served this country for a long time, and put myself in harm's way in multiple situations, from Afghanistan to working with the Combined Joint Task Force in Djibouti, worked in Mali, South Sudan, Burundi, Congo. I have no regrets of what my career has been. All of us hold our head high because we serve the Constitution and the flag of the United States, and that's what we represent. We are a diverse country. And we take a lot of pride in that. I think any member rank and file who thinks differently is fooling themselves that we're not a diverse country. The fact of the matter is we are a very unique country in many ways. Unlike other countries that have, they've ties to a land, the United States is, people come to it because of the promise of what it holds. And it's not based on any ethnographic issue or race. It's based on the fact that we are the beacon of hope and freedom throughout the world. And so that's most of us, actually all of us, from intelligence to defense to State Department to AID, have always aspired to and believed in. And so when you look at all our aspects of our power, soft power in this regard is so critical. As I remember going, and there was a General Admiral McRaven had this program when he was the head of SOCOM, Southern Special Operations Command, about interoperability. The way to do interoperability is to be able to build. You had to build friendships, and you can't build friendships through power. You had to build friendships through engagements, connectivity, culture, providing food aid when people need the aid. And then that's how you build that interoperability, and that's what all of us had worked towards. I think what's happening right now is there's a consolidation of that into very few spigots. Like State Department is now manages all our foreign assistance, which is okay. I'm not begrudging that. I'm glad that they have people who are qualified to be in that position. I just hope that they have a policy towards that, and it's a policy that's based on the principles of what we stand for. So I'll give them time to figure that out. And as far as I'm concerned, all of us who have left the service recently feel that we want to continue doing our work. In fact, let me give you, if you don't mind, can I give an example? I think I've been working, while I was in the service and now outside the service with the National Business League. It's the oldest national Black business organization in the country. It was formed by Booker T. Washington back in 1900. The fact that we have such a strong Black business association, we were leveraging them to connect businesses in the Afro-Caribbean region, and I still continue to do that as part of my current role as part of my company, is to connect our companies, because that's our soft power now. It is private sector. We have to get our private sector engaged more effectively with the private sector in other countries, and that's a pivot. I think what we realize now, we've gone from a government engagement to a private sector engagement. People like you, with your show, educating people about who we are as a country, connecting those things that VOA used to do, Voice of America. You are now the Voice of America for a lot of us, to explain who we are as a country, be impartial about our thing. Journalism journalism and news needs to be objective, and I'm so glad that you're continuing that tradition. But that's soft power. You are a part of that soft power, so we haven't lost it per se. It's changing into a different shape.
Let me just thank you very much for that compliment, Dr. Singh. Let me ask PL a question here, because I think mathematically, and sometimes people criticize me for thinking mathematically, either that or they don't understand it. But I hear an equation here. If it's a hypothesis, if hard power plus soft power equals smart power, then hard power without soft power is crazy, or ignorant power, or stupid power. How do you not engage the world with a soft diplomacy, PL, that allows us to engage people where they are? Not everyone has a gunboat. I mean, I lived through the Reagan era of gunboat diplomacy and the big stick diplomacy and the big stick and the carrot diplomacy. But the fact of the matter is, when people in Somalia, in the Congo, in the Sudan, in Azerbaijan, in Afghanistan are not starving, then there is space for conversations about philosophies like democracy, hope, expectations for women and others. Dr. De Silva, your thoughts on the imbalance that is being struck now between more hard power and no soft power at all?
So the thing is this: the United States then is found wanting because we are blind in a certain very important area, right, for us to engage. And when we are blind, or if we willfully withdraw, say, for example, in the United Nations, you are pulling out of the WHO, pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord, defunding United Nations Population Fund, and the list goes on. When you do that, our competitors actually move into that space. So it's like a game. If we move ourselves out of a spot on the team, somebody else is going to take your spot. And then after that, there's no point whinging about it, moaning about it, and saying, oh my God, the Chinese, the Chinese, the Chinese. Because we are the ones who have shot ourselves in the foot, pulled ourselves out, blinded ourselves by not engaging in soft power, while the Chinese and other competitors, right, India in particular, China is another big player. You look at Africa, who are the main players who are engaging in Africa? And Jay knows this extremely well. You have Chinese, you have Indians who are all over the continent. We are trying, but it's kind of neither here nor there if we don't have eyes and ears on the ground and if we don't have USAID playing a role, and if we don't have qualified people in our embassies, and Jay knows exactly what I'm talking about. And if we look at the Congo, you have these, unqualified people, taking senior positions in our embassies who are neither here nor there. And that is the huge problem that we have. We need qualified ambassadors. We need qualified professionals. And I think that part of the problem stems from the fact that in our universities, we don't do area studies anymore. So we don't have real specialists. So we have guys who know a smattering of things, but who are not really specialists. And this is a problem. And all of this ties into soft power. So yes, our media efforts to, like the Jesse Jackson Jr. show is very important of the reworking of soft power, but also education. We need to have the younger generation educated so that they can play a role in the future, because the future belongs to them. We have run our race. Jay has run his race. I have run my race. We have nothing more to prove to anybody, right? We've done it all. But the younger generation, they need to be trained, they need to be given opportunities, and they need to be guided. And that is where we are hanging fire.
PL, when I think about the Cold War, and that between the Russians and the Americans, the U.S., the West versus the East, so much of that defined an era. It coincided with the civil rights movement here in the United States, the government's relationship to African Americans, but not limited to, the treatment of Africans in Africa that left the Africans essentially out of the industrialized world during that period. The Soviets, the Russians, made themselves available to Africans to engage in some limited development. And of course, exploitation was part of that equation. When I was in Ghana, I saw the largest monument to the people of Ghana built by the Chinese. The grave of Kwame Nkrumah stands as the largest monument in that country. And you think about development, roads, bridges, and everything that's being built in many parts of Africa, because the United States, for whatever reason, I know exactly what the reason is, has chosen not to engage Africans on the same scale that it engages Europe. It seems to me that when we think about soft power, Dr. Singh, soft power has a color. We don't need soft power when it comes to our relationships with Europe, when it comes to our relationship with Europeans. Soft power is a power that is designed for the brown. It is designed for the black. It is designed for the most needy people on earth. And it's different than the real engagement that we provide for first world nations, that struggling third world nations are doing everything within their power to become.
That's a fascinating way of putting it, and I think I'm actually really impressed with the way you framed the soft power, the color of soft power, and you're not wrong. That is the bulk of where our foreign system had been going, was to Africa and to Southeast Asia. So yes, those are the most needy, most vulnerable. And also they have the most resources, so it's in our benefit and in interest, both from an economic perspective, national security perspective, but also from a cultural perspective, to be engaging more effectively with that part of the world. And I totally get it. As a brown person myself, I'm very empathetic with that description. So soft power, yes, is highly critical in that regard.
So PL. Then the president, I know we have 2 minutes or a minute or so before we come forward, PL. So then the president drops these tariffs on these countries, right? He wants their critical minerals as part of a tariff deal, but he offers no finished products in return, like schools, healthcare, education, housing, quality of life. I know that we just have about 30 seconds before we come forward, but the disparity is so glaring and so clear to me that I shudder. PL?
So what happens is, previously the United States had the most number of countries around it doing trade with us. Now, because of tariffs, they've moved away and they've coalesced around the Chinese. And this also includes the European Union. everybody who feels hard done by Trump tariffs are moving away and creating their own alliances. So there's globalization taking place without the United States.
Kiel, we're going to pick up on this point. We're going to pick up on this point when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. It's Thought Provoking Thursdays with Dr. P.L. Da Silva and our very special guest, Jay Singh.
The biggest names, the best conversations. You're riding with Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says President Trump does not want certain Democrats executed, clarifying his recent post about seditious behavior.
That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says his words could incite violence, but insisted he was not calling for their deaths. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is standing by his proposed corporate head tax despite pushback from aldermen. He says raising $100 million any other way would mean layoffs or firing law enforcement, which he will not do. And Black singer David, whose real name is David Burke, is officially a suspect in the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were found in his impounded Tesla. Investigators believe multiple people helped dismember and dispose of her body and say Burke has not cooperated. The cause of death is still undetermined. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
You can make a good argument that Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has been the most efficient quarterback in the NFL this season. He has only 2 interceptions during the Rams' 8-2 start. Stafford hasn't thrown an interception since September 21st at Philadelphia. A record 5 HBCU teams have qualified for the NCAA Division II football playoffs. The previous high was 3. Joining the 32-team bracket is Johnson C. Smith, Virginia Union, Albany State, Kentucky State, and Benedict College. Johnson C. Smith and Kentucky State are in the Division II playoffs for the first time in school history. First-round games begin on Saturday. It's been a tough first season for head coach Michael Vick at Norfolk State. Norfolk State is 1-10. The former NFL Pro Bowl quarterback, a Virginia native, brought a lot of attention to the HBCU program when he was hired. Norfolk State wraps up their season Saturday against Howard. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
September is World Alzheimer's Month, a time to shine a light on a public health crisis that deeply impacts Black families. 1 in 5 Black adults ages 70 and older is living with Alzheimer's disease, or AD, and the risk is twice as high compared to white adults. But AD isn't just forgetting a name or losing track of time. Signs of early AD could be repeating questions, missing appointments, or struggling with bills and daily tasks. These things aren't a normal part of aging. Here's the good news. Treatments are available that may help if AD is diagnosed early. If you notice changes in memory or daily routines, whether in yourself or a loved one, don't wait. Early diagnosis and intervention are key to managing AD effectively. To learn more about AD and a potential treatment option, visit treatalsearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com to learn more about the signs and symptoms and a potential treatment option. This message is brought to you by AZI.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's thought-provoking Thursdays with Dr. P.L. De Silva and our special guest, Dr. Jay Sang, who I'm very grateful for being on our program. Dr. P.L. De Silva is an experienced director with a demonstrated history of working in think tanks, industry, and academia, United Nations, political and military affairs, skilled in research, political risk analysis, geostrategy, cultural diplomacy, humanitarian action, and global affairs involving war-affected, deeply divided societies, strong professional, the doctor of philosophy, a PhD focused on political science from the University of Amsterdam. And also, our very special guest, Dr. Jay Sang, before arriving in Baku, he served in a senior leadership position as the director of USAID's Office of Development Cooperation in the Bureau of Policy, Planning, and Learning. He managed strategically important relationships with bilateral and multilateral development partners, as well as managed USAID's participation in high-profile international conferences, including the United Nations General Assembly and World Bank annual meetings, and conducted development dialogues with partners such as the United Kingdom, Japan, the European Union, and China, as well as emerging donors to advance USG priorities. Jay oversaw Foreign Service Development Counselors at the OECD's Development Assistance Committee, the European Union, the World Bank, and in China and Japan. While serving in PPLDC, he co-authored the 2018 to 2022 State USAID Joint Strategic Plan. Doctors, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Thank you.
I have a question because I'm just old enough to remember the Cold War, and we spent trillions of dollars as a nation preparing for war with Russia. Even Sting had an amazing song back when I was growing up called Russians. If the Russians love their children too. Trillions of dollars building weapons that could obliterate the planet itself multiple times. We still have these weapons in storage, by the way. And we update them every couple of years. Now we're spending trillions to update the entire nuclear force of the United States for a war that we will never fight with Mr. Putin. That's becoming increasingly clear. But now this massive military machinery is being turned on the people, for example, of Venezuela. People with rickety little boats, fishing boats. We don't know if they have drugs in them or not because they're not given due process of law. The Congress of the United States has failed to act. Trump unilaterally makes decisions to bomb sites in Iran and provide unprecedented weaponry to Israel and to other countries around the world. He sold yesterday, without Congress's permission, F-35s and 300 tanks and says he can get the deal done in 24 hours. That seems like something that needs to pass the Congress of the United States. But there's no evidence that that is even a norm any longer under the Trump regime. And then we use this massive military to turn to the brown nations of the world and say, hey, the only way out of tariffs, the only way out of this trouble that you now confront as a nation is critical minerals deals, where his children and his son-in-law seem always the negotiators of these pacts. Gentlemen, if this isn't a grift on a scale that the planet has never seen, I just don't know what is. Let me start with PL, and then Dr. Singh, I want to leave you a little bit of latitude because you're a working man for the people who keep your job. Dr. De Silva.
So the thing is this, as I was saying previously, the tariffs are creating a push factor. The racism, the anti-DEI racism, all of this is creating an uproar. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Absolutely. Keep going, Doc.
And as a result, they are moving us away. And as I said before, the trade bloc around the Chinese is far larger now than those coalescing around the US. And they therefore can do much more trade and have open and free globalization, which was how it used to be, right? So tariffs are creating a push factor, and the kind of blatant racism that everybody can see and hear on our screens is not making the brown nations and people from the African nations happy about this. Okay, and all this bullying is actually pushing people away, and that doesn't augur well. So you can have the biggest military in the world, and if you have 800 bases all over the world, you got to pay for that, right? And if your trade is going to be reduced, how are you going to pay for these? We are cutting taxes for billionaires. You're taxing poor people. Where does the revenue come from? We can't print dollars. And also we are enabling the BRICS to become stronger. We are enabling de-dollarization to take place. If you look at what's happening in many of the oil trades that are happening, people are paying in renminbi, in Indian rupees, in rubles. So the dollar is being knocked off its perch as the premier currency that it was intended to be when the Bretton Woods institutions were set up. The US was in a pinnacle point. The US dollar was in a very strong point. All of those things are being eroded. And if you look for a culprit, if you look for a cause and effect, I would say tariffs.
Dr. Singh.
Yeah, I can't disagree with PL. I'm a little concerned about how foreign policy is being practiced right now. The U.S. has had a significant influence over the rest of the world, largely because we wielded various aspects of our power, soft, hard, and press freedoms. There's the challenge we're facing right now is misinformation and disinformation. I saw a comment from one of your viewers that said USAID was out of control. I find that the most insulting thing for a person who's served this country for that long, that we were out of control. I put myself in harm's way with the soldiers in Afghanistan, engaged in troops in combat. So I think that's just wrong. The narrative around USAID was so blatantly misinformed that it swayed a lot of people. Our budget was less than 1% of the entire budget of the United States. So, and we did a lot of good. It's harder to do. I think in hindsight, I think we could have done things a lot differently, and I wish we had someone strong enough to come and shape the agency to be a little more forward-leaning with the times. And I think when you look at Product 2025's chapter on USAID, I think they were not too far off the mark there. And so if they had actually implemented that part of their plan, we'd be a different place right now. But that said, I think PL's right. I mean, we can't just keep doing trade deals all over the place. Disease, for example, does not need a trade deal to cross our borders. We saw that with COVID. We've seen that with a lot of diseases that have in the past needed international multilateral cooperation. So that needs to go on. Yeah, and I have to say, I know PL, I know you've been in the UN system for a long time. I also think the UN needs to be reformed, made more cost effective. So I think that's an ongoing thing. So there's a lot of things that could be done. I wish they had just taken the bull by the horns and addressed them versus just taking a sledgehammer, or as Elon Musk used, a chainsaw. I wish he hadn't done that. But again, as a career person, I only thing I can do is either follow the orders or get out of the way, and I did get out of the way because I could not follow the orders.
You know, what's really interesting in this moment, there are some reforms at the United Nations that needed to take place, but they can take place much faster if the United States of America pays its bills over there and stops holding the entire United Nations in New York hostage. And lastly, as Vice Chairman of the Foreign Operations Committee of the Appropriations Committee, I support and agree with all of the work that USAID has done around the world, PEPFAR, vaccinations, some of the most extraordinary work to help the poor of the world is from that agency. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. Dr. De Silva.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The laws have not changed in California. All workers must be paid properly and protected from retaliation. Retaliating against a worker or not paying them because of their immigration status is illegal. Don't believe the lies. California laws protect all workers, regardless of immigration status. Document retaliation and wage theft. Report it to the Labor Commissioner's office. Learn about your labor rights. Visit WageTheftIsACrime.com.
Head to the Skirball Cultural Center for a thought-provoking contemporary art exhibition, Draw Them In, Paint Them Out. Trenton Doyle Hancock confronts Philip Guston. Explore resonant connections between the work of American Jewish painter Philip Guston and the work of Trenton Doyle Hancock, a leading Black American contemporary artist, in dialogue for the first time. While engaging with the artwork, consider the role that artists play in the pursuit of social justice. Plan your visit at skirball.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or price stopped. Opt out.
Hey man, how did the date go?
I had to cancel. I don't get paid until Friday.
You didn't know that you can get up to a $750 paycheck advance with the Current app?
Where was that information yesterday?
All you have to do is download the app, see if you qualify. $750. Boom.
You think I should call her back?
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
All right.
Need money before payday? Current has you covered. Set up an eligible direct deposit to see if you qualify for a paycheck advance of up to $750. Get ahead with Current. Text ACTION to 323232 to sign up today. That's ACTION to 323232. ACTION to 323232. ACTION to 323232.
Paycheck advance is offered by FindCo Advance LLC, a financial technology company, not an FDIC-insured bank. Eligibility and available amounts may vary and are subject to change at any time. For full terms and conditions, visit current.com or call 1-888-851-3177 for more information.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is Thought Provoking Thursdays worldwide with PL De Silva and our very special guest, Dr. Jay Singh. Dr. PL De Silva and Dr. Jay Singh are some of our and two of our global contributors to the program. Some insights on what's taking place beyond Los Angeles, beyond Chicago, beyond New York, beyond Dallas, Texas, beyond Atlanta, Georgia, the impact that the United States has in the world and the world's response to the impact that we do have. If you want to take a look in the mirror, take a look at yourself and make that change, Michael Jackson said. I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm looking at the nation in the mirror. And if you want to make the world a better place, America, take a look at yourself and make that change. That's where I think Michael was going with this thing. Dr. P.L. De Silva, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Jay Singh, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks.
P.L., Dr. Singh, I'm so grateful you guys have been on the program. P.L., let me allow you to engage before our word of hope for this final segment with Dr. Singh.
Right. So I think elections are the way that we can have a reset. And I've said this many, many times. So we need to revamp the old civil rights movement that we had, that we can, support democracy, freedom, fight racism, fight misogyny, support the Constitution, uphold the Constitution. We don't want far-right politics in this country. We need to stop fascism. We need to stop totalitarianism. These are the things that we are called on to do, that we need to stand up and be counted, and we cannot stay at home and hope that everything will just blow away. Because what's happening is that so much of the federal structures of this country are being taken apart. And we need to make sure at the midterm elections that we have a change in the House and in the Senate, that we can't have a king sitting in the White House. We simply cannot. This country will not tolerate kings. 6 million people demonstrated in all 50 states of this country. And this is what we need to do. Our viewership, the Congressional Black Caucus, we need to organize, we need to get together, we need a new civil rights movement, we need young blood, we need to make change happen. And the New York mayoral race was a good case in point. The young people might not have all the solutions, but having Zoran Mamdani as the new mayor of New York is a sign of hope. And I hope that the politicians in this country, the legislators, can learn from this. And we can get rid of all the old corrupt politicians who are on the hill. We need a change, a sea change.
Dr. Singh?
Let me just mention a couple of points here. Sorry, give me 1 second here. Somebody's trying to call me. One of the things I've learned is that everything we do in USAID is online. I mean, Congress approves it, everyone approves it. There's no reason to believe that we're out of control, number one. Number two is we need to face our history. I think till we grapple with our history, we will never move forward. I think it's about time we look at ourselves in the mirror, as you said, to look at history and embrace it. We were that before, we're not that now, or are we? And I think that's, for me, is critical. We have to embrace our history and move forward from there. There's no looking for tomorrow if we can't look back and learn from the lessons of our past and the sacrifices all of us have made to get to be where we are. And I think as long as we don't understand history, we will never get there to the future. So I appreciate being on this show. And I just think, as PL said, we need a change. And I think we've also had to change the narrative and stop using buzzwords to describe people and just be humans. We're just humans at this point. And I think progressive is not a bad term. Conservative is not a bad term. It's just how we use them and how we portray people when we use those terms. So back to what you said in the beginning, look in the mirror. We have to look in the mirror. We have to understand the history. If we don't understand the history and grapple with what we have been through, we will never move forward.
Dr. Singh, I can't thank you enough for that critique, and I can't thank Dr. P.L. De Silva enough for his critique and regular contribution, so I want to offer mine. Since we got here in Jamestown, Virginia in 1619, we did live under a king. From 1619 to September 17th, 1787. That's exactly who we lived under when the founding fathers of this country came together and introduced the Republic on September 17th, 1787. And July 4th, 1776 was a revolution against the king, the culmination of it, a declaration of independence. We did live under a king. And then we lived under 15 presidents who tolerated slavery. Absolutely unacceptable. Until Abraham Lincoln. And we've been marching through this experiment, through history, trying to guarantee more and more people human rights. That's a fact. America is an incomplete experiment. That's what it is. It is an experiment in transition. It is towards a more perfect, we're towards something, towards a more perfect. Are we there? No. Are we going back to 1945? We don't want to do that. We're going somewhere, some destiny that America has that is unique in human history. That's what makes America so different, where we can coalesce our differences, our cultures.
Jesse, can I say something real quick?
Oh, absolutely. Come on, Dr. Singh.
I think what you just said is absolutely. I think what when I look at why people don't want to look at things like DEI or things, I think there's a fear of the past, the fear of what's been done in the past. We need to get over that fear. We need to understand it and basically grasp it and not be who we were before and go, as you said, to a more perfect union. We are who we are. This flag represents a beacon of hope for the rest of the world. And I totally agree with you and your father and what you have done for this country. And I just want to say thank you.
Dr. Singh, I'm so grateful. You know, you're welcome to be back on our program anytime. Dr. P.L. De Silva, you know, we have about 2 minutes, your word of hope to shut out our first program.
My word of hope is that I hope that USAID will be resurrected and that US soft power will come back on track, because without there, we are just twisting in the wind. Jay, your thoughts?
I agree. I think, I have no issues with what the USAID did. Of course, there are some things which we should have done differently, but that's okay. That's how we learn. But soft power is is the hand of friendship. And I miss the two, our symbol that we have at USAID of two people shaking hands. That's how we should be, and that's how we should aspire to be, is to hold each other close and near and dear, and not fear who we are, what ethnic race we are, what background we're coming from. We're all people here. We're on the same planet, we're on the same boat. And just show respect. I think respect is such an important word that we've forgotten. And I think I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Worldwide with P.L. De Silva. Our very special guest has been Jay Singh. You've been listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Worldwide with P.L. De Silva. More with Johnny Mack when we come forward.
Thank you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. The White House says President Trump does not want certain Democrats executed, clarifying his recent post about seditious behavior.
That is a very, very dangerous message, and it perhaps is punishable by law.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says his words could incite violence, but insisted he was not calling for their deaths. Chicago's Black Mayor Brandon Johnson is standing by his proposed corporate head tax despite pushback from aldermen. He says raising $100 million any other way would mean layoffs or firing law enforcement, which he will not do. And Black singer David, whose real name is David Burke, is officially a suspect in the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose remains were found in his impounded Tesla. Investigators believe multiple people helped dismember and dispose of her body and say Burke has not cooperated. The cause of death is still undetermined. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
You can make a good argument that Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has been the most efficient quarterback in the NFL this season. He has only 2 interceptions during the Rams' 8-2 start. Stafford hasn't thrown an interception since September 21st at Philadelphia. A record 5 HBCU teams have qualified for the NCAA Division II football playoffs. The previous high was 3. Joining the 32-team bracket is Johnson C. Smith, Virginia Union, Albany State, Kentucky State, and Benedict College. Johnson C. Smith and Kentucky State are in the Division II playoffs for the first time in school history. First-round games begin on Saturday. It's been a tough first season for head coach Michael Vick at Norfolk State. Norfolk State is 1-10. The former NFL Pro Bowl quarterback, a Virginia native, brought a lot of attention to the HBCU program when he was hired. Norfolk State wraps up their season Saturday against Howard. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Thought-provoking Thursdays and Worldwide with Johnny Mack is up in this hour. Johnny Mack is the principal founder of the Johnny Mack Group, has spent his life studying the meta-logic of Martin Luther King Jr., the World House, the importance of understanding the triple evils of militarism, poverty, and racism. Just no one, from my perspective, and I've given perspective broad reach, has given as much thought to the idea of the unfinished work of Martin Luther King Jr. philosophically than Johnny Mack. Johnny, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Hey, Jesse, good to be here.
Johnny, we had a fascinating conversation in the last hour about the United States Agency for International Development. And I'm wondering, in light of the machine that is American capitalism, that is the American form, if you will, of democracy. Obviously, it's not Greek democracy or Greco-Roman democracy, the American form of democracy, including participatory democracy, the idea of the right to vote once extended to all of the people. In this experiment, I'm wondering where the United States Agency for International Development fits in the scheme of Dr. King's thinking on the role America could play in the world. I remember a quote where Dr. King said something to the effect that we have enough material prosperity to feed, and the technology, to feed the people of the world from here. The technology exists, but we lack the will to do so. Obviously, if we talk about building a World House, if we're talking about walking in the front door of the World House, or even going to the basement of the World House and shooting a game of pool, people have to be fed. Johnny, your thoughts on USAID and America's desire to completely eliminate soft power?
I really appreciate, Jesse, that you always give me the easy questions. So with that softball pitch, let me see if how far I can hit it. It's such an important question. And maybe, Jesse, we begin the conversation with the role of the United States in the world today. Just what is that role? And Jesse, who determines the role? So when we think about the U.S. and its role, it exercises, articulates, manifests that role through its institutions, through its structures, using its vast assets and resources, both tangible and intangible. In USAID, up until very recently, was one of them. Whether USAID was the right one, we need metrics, Jesse, to measure the impact of such institutions, programs, and processes that the world's greatest power has at its disposal, and how it employs those resources and assets, right? And so measuring the effect of USAID and whether it should still exist today or not, we need that criteria. And I think, as we've talked before, that King used three basic, very fundamental values to determine such things when he called for a restructuring of the social edifice. And those three fundamental values are human dignity, right? How do we recognize the dignity of each and every individual? The second value is human liberty. How is that dignity exercised among the population? And then human community. How do we come together as a community to form this world house? And then applying that to USAID or any other institution, what does such an institution bring to the world? How does it benefit or harm the world? And social harm, Jesse, is something we really need to talk about. I've already talked to you, I know that. But I really welcome further exploring this.
No, you've not talked too long. We have about 2 minutes before we come forward. But I do want to share with you that my sense from our previous conversation with our previous guest and our regular host, PL De Silva, is that the complete elimination of USAID and the profound work, which is not just government work, it's ministry. I mean, the vaccination of children around the world is not only in their self-interest, it's also in our self-interest. We don't want Ebola getting on a plane and ending up in New York, or a virus ending up in Atlanta or Chicago or Los Angeles or any international airport that can quickly spread to the American people. I mean, the most blessed nation in human history in this world house has an obligation, Johnny, with its technology, with its know-how, to at least establish a national floor for human existence. Especially, I think Dr. King is saying, if we have the power to do so, and we do, $1 trillion, and using these weapons on little rickety boats in Venezuela. Isn't that what the Coast Guard's for?
Amazing, isn't it? Isn't it? Jesse, this is controversial for some to hear, but how is that any different than standing on the corner fighting? How is that any different than standing on a corner in New York City and shooting someone to death? What is the difference between bombing a boat, a harmless, well, there's so much to unpack here. But how is that different?
I don't know how it is, Johnny, but we're going to discuss it when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It is the World House with none other than the legendary Dr. Johnny Mack. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Eric is way behind on his taxes.
I owed a lot of money to the IRS, almost $15,000. I tried to make payments.
The IRS wasn't satisfied with Eric's efforts, so they came after him full force.
They're coming to put a lien and a hold on all my income, my home, my car. I was just overwhelmed with what to do.
Then Eric called Optima Tax Relief.
When Optima Tax got involved, the calls would stop, the threats would stop. It was easy like 1, 2, 3.
Optima's award-winning team of expert tax professionals took care of Eric's problem.
I owe $15,000, and now my debt is clean. I don't owe anything.
Take Eric's advice.
If you have a tax problem, you need to call Optima Tax now.
Call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. Optima Tax Relief.
Actual client compensated for sharing their experience. Some restrictions apply. Visit OptimaTaxRelief.com for details.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting great candidates? Well, they're not hard to find when you go to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. People who are actively looking for jobs like yours. So it's easy to find the right person fast. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter Get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson. On KBLA Talk 1580. This is the World House with Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack is the principal of the Johnny Mack Group, and he is also the expositor of the philosophy of building a world house through a metalogic that Martin Luther King Jr. practiced and needs to be understood by all, and how the triple evils of militarism, poverty, and materialism encourage us and force us to challenge the very social edifice that creates poverty in our country and in our world. I'm very grateful that Johnny Mack is a regular contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Johnny, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, Jesse.
Johnny, I do have this question to ask you about this $1 trillion budget that Donald Trump plans on spending and the Congress has now passed. The first time in human history. No Cold War enemy, no Russians, no Khrushchev, no threat like that. I mean, the Russians are fighting the Ukrainians. They're not threatening the United States like that. But $1 trillion is now being spent. It's hard to imagine that any administration is coming behind that to reduce the military budget. But what we see is the use of this massive military empire sustaining power with hundreds of military bases around the world, looking at the poorest nations in the world, threatening them with big gunboat diplomacy, shooting little rickety boats, showing them on the evening news here in the United States like it's some kind of video game, against countries that don't even have a navy, threatening the invasion of their countries. And the only way out is to negotiate a critical minerals deal with the Trump family and with the Trump administration. And to add to that, we'll go one step further. In Nigeria, the domestic religious affairs has historically been the responsibility of local governments with local people. But Trump says he wants to enter Nigeria or take advantage or threaten Nigeria with big gunboat diplomacy over the treatment of Christians in Nigeria. Now, there may be a Christian conflict between Christian and Islam, but in effect, Donald Trump says he would weigh into Nigeria on the side of Christians over the Muslim nation that Nigeria has been. And of course, the only way out of such conflict is to sign a critical mineral deal with Donald Trump negotiated by him and his family. If this isn't the biggest grift in the history of the world, I don't know what is. Johnny, your thoughts about building a world house where the poorest of the poor are sitting on the side of the Jericho Road and everyone is walking by, not just the priest, the Levite, and the Samaritan. The Samaritan's not even stopping. Everybody's just looking at him sitting there. Johnny Mack.
Yeah, so, what we might call that, Jesse, is indifference. Is indifference. Something King argued against, and something that we have to come to grips with. To be indifferent and to not speak out, to not stand up, to not protest, and to not organize and mobilize for the kind of world that we want, but to be indifferent. What is the difference between a crime of intent intentional crime, intentional hurt and harm. And Jesse, arguably, the crime of indifference, of not saying something, of not doing something. And one of the reasons the current administration is able to do much of what it is doing is an indifference of a population that has been lulled to sleep. Remember when King talks in his masterpiece on the World House, he talks about sleeping through a revolution, and that indifference is tantamount to simply sleeping through a revolution. And we've talked before about what is happening today, Jesse, is a revolution of values that is being imposed upon us as we sleep through that very revolution. Our whole understanding and construct and infrastructure of democracy is being changed before our very eyes, and we, the indifferent, allow it to happen.
Johnny, I got to break in just for a moment because we have breaking news on this program. We break news every now and again. The U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify SWAT stickers and nooses as hate symbols. Now, I'm going to say that again. The U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify SWAT stickers and nooses as hate symbols, which simply suggests that nooses are a form of speech and SWAT stickers are a form of speech. Let me read the article. The Coast Guard said Thursday in a Washington report that it will no longer classify SWAT stickers and nooses as hate symbols is categorically false. The claims that the U.S. Coast Guard will no longer classify SWAT stickers, nooses, or other extremist imagery as prohibited symbols, they say are categorically false. But I have another report that says it is not false, that it is true. And if we are heading down this road, and I have plenty of evidence 2 minutes ago from the Washington Post that they've clarified their statement, the Coast Guard ends hate symbol labels for SWAT stickers, nooses. They're going to have to change what they wrote in that article. The Coast Guard ends hate. They don't see hate symbols in SWAT stickers or nooses. How acceptable is that in our society? And what does that say for the men and women who protect our borders in the Gulf of Mexico, not the Gulf of America, but the coastlines around our country, when you can see a SWAT sticker or a noose around the neck or around the pole of a U.S. flagged vessel? Johnny, this is the opposite direction of the World House.
It absolutely is, Jesse. And again, how does that occur? Again, recognizing that we're going through this revolution, recognizing we're going through a or a tectonic shift, a tectonic social change is really key here. Reframing the social narratives and those things that gave us guardrails and helped us to identify who we are as individuals and as a people. To suggest that swastikas and nooses are no longer hate symbols is to also suggest that those who were subject to those nooses and to those swastikas are somehow no longer important.
So blacks and Jews are not wanted. Blacks and Jews are not wanted. It's okay to terrorize them. It's okay to make them suffer in schools and public places, according to the Coast Guard, essentially. And they are going to be moonwalking, I suspect, before the end of the week. This isn't going to make it until the end of the weekend. Our Jewish brothers and sisters, who oftentimes defend themselves and decry racism against themselves, are now joined at the hip with us in this struggle against nooses as free speech and SWAT stickers as free speech. What we do know is there are not enough of our brothers and sisters who happen to be Jewish in the United States. Dr. King and Rabbi Abraham Heschel recognized that, and they marched and fought together. I think that in our future for movement, Johnny, is a stronger Black and Jewish coalition going forward on issues that matter domestically. Some disagreements on issues that might be in the Middle East proper. There may be disagreement over the two-state solution, which I support, but some, don't believe it is possible any longer. But clearly, even the Saudi crown prince, who should be tried and given his day in court for the death of Mr. Khashoggi, according to evidence that has been determined in a federal court. It seems to me that that this idea that we could come together as a coalition in the World House on at least something as basic as this, that there's at least a small possibility we might fight together and not fight each other.
Well, certainly coming together is key. I mean, that's the whole third principle or value that we talked about, building community among ourselves. It is that coming together, that coalition, that coalescing, that working together and understanding each other's experiences and supporting each other is key to the kind of social change that took place in the mid-20th century and that must take place now. And it must be a complete coalition, Jesse. Yes, African Americans and Jews must come together, but the nation as a whole, the world as a whole must come together. We have one tent, we have one world house, and we must come together as one people. Therein lies our strength. If we can divide ourselves into atomistic groups, then we can be conquered individually. And so our hope, and we're going to be talking about hope at the end of the hour as we usually do. So here's a preview of that hope. Our hope has to be in each other and our willingness to come together in community.
Johnny, let me put Dr. King in a couple of positions, and I trust your judgment on the latitude that you might give me in these questions. If Dr. King were Secretary of State and he could direct the nation from that perspective, I know I only have a few minutes for this brief questions. Of course, I'd like to imagine Dr. King as president and in other positions, but I filter just about everything in my thinking through the philosophy of Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King as Secretary of State and how he would approach global diplomacy. I don't know anyone who's traveled the world more than you have. How would Dr. King approach it? Because I believe this is how you approach it as you travel the world. Johnny?
Well, again, King would rely on the fundamentals, Jesse, of the dignity and worth of all humans, and he would measure all of our policies, both internal and external to the United States, based upon how we treat the least of these, how we provide for those who have been marginalized, how we bring them into this world house under this big tent. And so he would be inclusive, moving in just the opposite direction that it seems our current chief diplomat and his boss is taking the United States in isolation as America first. And sometimes it seems to me, America only. I think King would reject such a notion. Of course, he would be driven by the policy trajectory set by his boss, the president of the United States. I don't know that he would last very long, Jesse, as our chief diplomat.
If it were this president.
If it were this president, indeed.
But Dr. King, under another president, might be cut loose as a senior advisor to the president of the United States, providing the kind of advice on the kind of world that we should be building that would literally change the trajectory of the planet itself.
I think so. What an interesting idea, Jesse, because after all, to have a president today, other than the one we have, who would appoint a Martin Luther King Jr. to be the chief ambassador of the United States to the world, says something about the kind of leadership that president would represent. But it says something else, Jesse. It says the kind of leadership that would have elected him, the kind of mentality, the kind of people, the kind of collective consciousness that would understand that having a president who would embrace such an individual, who would use the likes of a Martin Luther King Jr. to represent this nation and this world, would say a great deal about us as a people.
It would also say a lot about the Senate that would confirm him and
Indeed.
the media that would cover him.
Indeed.
And it would echo a spirit, a resounding vibration that we felt. We will have more examples of this in the future, of imagining what it would be like if our king were president, if our king were vice president, if our king were over housing, if our king were over education, if our king had some say in the environment. Jesse Jackson Jr., you're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is the World House. That's what we're trying to build here with Dr. Johnny Mack. More when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Congresswoman Sheila Sherfulis McCormick calls her indictment in a $5 million FEMA scam a sham, but experts say she faces major PR issues.
If she decides to run, it will be a big issue in her re-election campaign without question.
She could get up to 53 years in prison if convicted. A judge has ruled that police captain promotion exams in Akron, Ohio can proceed despite a lawsuit from Black Lieutenant Michael Murphy alleging racial discrimination. Murphy claims minority lieutenants are blocked from taking the exam while less experienced white lieutenants are allowed, but the judge found no proof of racial bias. And the late Chadwick Boseman is being honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame across from the TCL Chinese Theater. Ryan Coogler and Viola Davis will speak at the ceremony. Boseman, known for Black Panther, died of colon cancer in 2020 at age 43. His widow will accept the honor. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Got issues with youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit, offers more than 1,000 free online resources for youth and high school sports coaches, parents, students, and administrators. Visit PCADevZone.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
You can make a good argument that Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford has been the most efficient quarterback in the NFL this season. He has only 2 interceptions during the Rams' 8-2 start. Stafford hasn't thrown an interception since September 21st at Philadelphia. A record 5 HBCU teams have qualified for the NCAA Division II football playoffs. The previous high was 3. Joining the 32-team bracket is Johnson C. Smith, Virginia Union, Albany State, Kentucky State, and Benedict College. Johnson C. Smith and Kentucky State are in the Division II playoffs for the first time in school history. First-round games begin on Saturday. It's been a tough first season for head coach Michael Vick at Norfolk State. Norfolk State is 1-10. The former NFL Pro Bowl quarterback, a Virginia native, brought a lot of attention to the HBCU program when he was hired. Norfolk State wraps up their season Saturday against Howard. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, I'm Kylie.
I'm John.
And I'm Garrison. And a little thing we love about the 30-count Chick-fil-A nuggets
Is sharing it in the car during the holidays.
I do love that. We will pack the car with gifts. And of course, we go and pick up our family's favorite nuggets.
Every nugget is tasty times quadrillion.
And we get all the sides.
Yeah, the ooey gooey mac and cheese is a big hit.
Everyone from 1 to 116 would love Chick-fil-A's chicken nuggets.
Share the nuggets, share the joy. Order the 30-count Chick-fil-A nuggets on the Chick-fil-A app. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
An official message from Medicare.
Medicare plans change from one year to the next. And this year, it's important for you to review your current coverage and compare all your options during Medicare open enrollment. Compare health plans, drug coverage, and costs. See if you can save some money, and don't forget to make sure your drugs are covered. Open enrollment ends December 7th. Visit Medicare.gov or call 1-800-MEDICARE.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Our very special guest in this hour on the World House with Johnny Mack on Thought Provoking Thursdays is none other than Dr. Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack is an extraordinary thinker, philosopher, and member of our community here at KBLA. I'm so grateful for your leadership. Dr. Mack, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. It's always great to be here.
Johnny, I stated earlier, just before the break, about your travels around the world, and I couldn't help but during the break think about and reflect upon Martin Luther King Jr.'s travels around the world. He talked about having spent time in Gandhi, in India, studying Gandhi. I believe he met Nehru. I believe Gandhi might have expired by the time that Martin Luther King Jr. actually went to India. He spoke about his time in Africa. I believe he met Nkrumah. I believe there are other parts of the world that Martin Luther King Jr. traveled. I believe he talked about time that he spent in Jerusalem with his wife, Coretta. He had a worldview, not just a south side of Los Angeles view, a south side of Chicago view. Right around the corner from Morehouse College view, Atlanta, Georgia, or Southeast view in DC. No, he had a worldview. Dr. King had traveled the world. He'd experienced the world. He'd met the people of the world, and he thought reflectively about America and our democracy and the Declaration of Independence and the struggles against colonialism around our world and the injustices that were being, if you will, reaped or handed or leveled upon the poorest of the poor in our world. And Dr. King had a point of view about what first world nations, industrialized nations, were to do in the face of poverty and deindustrialization. Johnny, your thoughts on our king and how our king would have seen this world.
It's amazing that in 13 short years, from 1955 to 1968, this young man, Jesse, who would become simply the voice of a people who simply wanted to have equal access to transportation in Montgomery, Alabama, would become this global voice, not only for civil rights, but for human rights, who would represent a certain moral authority, who, as we talked about last week, could stand at the pulpit in Riverside Church the year before his assassination and critique the Vietnam War in such a passionate and remarkable way, instructing how a global hegemony, the global leader of the world, ought to behave. And so, yes, King had a sense of the world, arguably like none other, who argued against the status quo and the generally accepted way of evaluating what being humane meant at that time in the lexicon of the human experience. And so today, his voice echoes his call for, peace and justice and attending to the needs of the least of these. And when we talked about if he were, our chief ambassador to the world, he would continue that clarion call for peace and justice, but not just a call. King would demonstrate through his acts how we must make the change that we seek. And we must, as Gandhi said, be the change that we seek. And Jesse, he's left it to us now to do that very thing. He's no longer here, of course, but he's left us an incredible roadmap to find our way home to the world house. If we would only listen to his clarion call of action, of nonviolent social action in all of its forms.
Johnny, about 2 years ago, I had a wonderful conversation with a distinguished professor, Dr. Yancey at Emory University, who's a philosopher there. I'm sure you know Dr. Yancey. And I shared with him some discoveries that I made in my faith, some discoveries that I made in America, and some discoveries that I quite frankly believe Martin Luther King Jr. would have made and understood when he talked about blending opposites and how the strong person holds within their character polar opposites, a commander of an army and a repriever partner. Everyone has what? Some good in them and something troubling in them. No human life can escape the duality that is human consciousness. And Dr. King recognized that. He argued, of course, effectively in his book, Strength to Love, that Jesus also understood the need to blend opposites when he told his disciples, go be ye therefore sheep in the midst of wolves. It's hard to imagine a person having both the characteristics. He would then go on to say, therefore be harmless as a serpent and soft as a dove. It's hard to imagine a person having both the characteristics of a serpent and a dove, but Jesus expects us to wrestle with, that combination. I say that to say that when I think about blending opposites, the nation itself has a glorification of one form of American existence, of life, of the wealthy, of the perception of privilege, but it's not blending, Johnny, the care and the concern. It's this and what is our care and concern for the least of these. Just about a week ago, not I, but the nation witnessed the idea that a single American, an immigrant, by the way, would be granted by his board of directors $1 trillion pay package against the backdrop of rounding up homeless people in the streets and cleaning up DC by destroying encampments and what $1 trillion would do to change the course of the trajectory of public education for hundreds of millions of kids around our country, or tens of millions of kids, is something. I mean, it's just astounding that the nation can move in this direction without the care and concern of at least the reflection, Johnny.
Yeah. King was the master of dialectics for sure. And, we live in a world of either or, of zero sum, right? Competition. It's me or you. I win and you lose. It's individualism. And it's not a both and, it's an either or proposition that we live under today. And that was one of King's greatest criticisms of Western culture and our capitalist system. And it is that very social order that allows a single individual to accumulate $1 trillion when up to half the population of the United States only owns 2% of its nation's wealth. And so that is the change that we somehow have to make, and only we can make it. That change won't happen from the top down. There's no incentive for the elite, those who control and make the decisions about our social order, our social structures, who benefits and who's burdened. There's no incentive to change the system. So when King calls for a change, he looks to us to make it.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580, The World House with Johnny Mack. More when we come forward on 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The holidays mean more travel, more shopping, more time online, and more personal info in more places that could expose you more to identity theft. But LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our US-based restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or financial losses alone. Get more holiday fun and less holiday worry with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Guys, don't propose with a ring that she didn't pick out. Trust us, she already has a ring in mind. So engage with Gage Diamonds, in person or online, where Gage's skilled ring designers will work with her to create the perfect setting, matched with the perfect stone. Gage specializes in exquisite lab-grown diamonds. Financing available. GageDiamonds.com, where engagement's middle name.
Hey, nice job, Pete. I like those clean lines. Fellas, do we have anyone that can get to Greenport today?
At Corey's Landscaping, the staffing plan is in the weeds.
Anthony, we need that leaf blower over here. 3 more new customer requests just came in. Who wants to work some overtime?
He needs to dig up quality landscapers and fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on Thought-Provoking Fridays, the World House with Johnny Mack. Johnny Mack is one of our most popular contributors on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm so grateful that he gives of his time every week. Johnny, how can our listeners support your work?
Thank you for asking, Jesse, and thank you to your listeners for responding. Our work at the World House Project may be found by its name, the World House Project.org. Again, you can find us at theworldhouseproject.org. There you can learn more about our work and you can make a tax-deductible contribution. You can join our global network. You can visit us. We meet every week, Jesse Jackson Jr., every week. Our global network meets virtually for 1 hour, and we welcome your listening audience to join us every week. They can connect through our website. So thank you so much for asking.
Johnny, let me ask you a question before we come forward. We've been in a struggle here at KBLA with Southern California Edison for their disrespect of our community in Altadena. We've been challenging Pedro Pizarro, the CEO of that organization who runs California Edison, and there's much evidence to suggest that their company is largely responsible for the fires in Altadena that has displaced many, many people, but has killed some people as well, and is responsible for massive property loss to a large African-American community. We're going to get his undivided attention in not too short order. But I'm wondering how Dr. King would respond to a company that disrespected the call for change within the company, or even accountability within the company, at least a conversation, if they were disrespected. How would King approach that?
I think you would call them out, Jesse, and that's exactly what you're doing even in this conversation today. I think that we have to hold corporations accountable. Ordinary citizens have to hold them accountable. And, after all, while King was well known and, his name highly respected, he viewed himself simply as an ordinary global citizen, doing all that he could and whatever he could to bring about a just and peaceful world. And that's what we are all called to do. And so I think that King would call out, he would use his platform and he would use his voice. I think that he would mobilize and organize against such actions that deny the danger of the actions or inactions of corporations that cause hurt and harm to ordinary people. And so I think, again, that's the challenge that we are faced with today, to follow King's example and to call injustice by its right name and to stand against it.
So when Brother Farr and Tavis Smiley opine against the disrespect and the behavior of the Southern California Edison company, they are in the best tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. when they do that, correct?
I would say so, Jesse. Again, rightfully calling injustice whenever and wherever it raises its ugly head would be in line with the spirit and the example of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and so many others who bled and died, gave their life's work to nonviolent social change.
And when we see those of us who do see Martin Luther King Jr. and Jesse Jackson and William Barber and Reverend Sharpton and others in the highest value and as disciples of our faith, we're not wrong when we exercise our conscience on these questions. Am I right, Johnny?
Indeed, we are wrong when we don't exercise when we don't exercise our conscience. But Jesse, that says something else. We must inform our consciences, right? We cannot be asleep, right? We can't be indifferent to injustice. And so, again, I know you're going to come to me about this question of hope, but my hope and my word of hope, if I can anticipate, if not too soon.
As long as you can hold on to it for 4 minutes.
I got it, Jesse.
It could be a long word of hope.
But Jesse, there's a lot to talk about when it comes to a long word of hope, because, the very work that King did, you mentioned so many names. You mentioned Martin and the cadre of people, including your own father, who worked with him. Ambassador Andrew Young and
yes,
people like James Orange and there's so many to name. And who are those names today? Well, those names do exist. You mentioned Reverend Barber, and of course you mentioned, I think, the incredible work of Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yes.
Without Reverend Al, man, where would we be today?
Yeah.
An individual who for 30 years, Jesse, for 30 years has stood in the gap, has tried to pull the separate ends of the left and right together and to be a voice of hope. And so, I have hope in the champions, the gospel gladiators of hope, like your father, like Reverend Sharpton. And, Jesse, even this program, yes, this program is in that line of hope. It is a platform and an opportunity to hear what we have called that clarion call of hope. And so I'm just thankful that your work continues in that same vein. And I'm grateful to be a part of that conversation. And I think we have to bring your listeners into this conversation. I look forward to the day, Jesse. I don't know if this is possible or not. And I don't know whose toes I'm stepping on when I raise this point. But it would be great to be able to hear from your listeners directly in a program like this. And perhaps someday that can be the case, to hear firsthand of the work of the many foot soldiers who continue today. And we don't see them, we don't hear them, but they are there. And it is they in whom I hold hope. And it is they who give me courage and who give me energy and who create that drive and energy to press on, to look forward to that day when we realize Dr. King's vision of a world house.
You know, take this moment. I don't know whose toes I may end up stepping on, but, you know, other than our production team, every single host on the Jesse Jackson Jr. show is a volunteer.
Mm.
We've never been paid. We don't want to be paid. This is what we do. This is our ministry.
Yes.
We appreciate the platform. And the stronger KBLA is the stronger we are.
That's right.
So we're asking you, please put KBLA on your Thanksgiving table. Put KBLA under your Christmas tree. Do not take for granted that we have an organization under Brother Smiley's leadership that provides an avenue and a platform for us to share every week, every single day, to keep us up on the news. And yes, Brother Mac, I would love to be able to go to the idea of receiving calls. We do have the technology. We just don't have the manpower to be able to field the calls. But maybe one day a week, maybe 2 days a week, with the existing technology we have, we can find a way to pull it off. I know that our system allows us to do so. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You've been listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Johnny Mac, thank you for being with us once again. Look forward to our time together next week. More on KBLA Talk 1580 when we come forward. Pedro, still looking for you.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIA.